Scientists have warned that a new, more infectious strain of COVID-19 could possibly spread again in South Africa, but that there is large-scale natural and vaccine-derived immunity already in the broad population. Researchers at the Africa Institute for Health Research in Durban have warned that the coronavirus is still able to mutate. Now, let's discuss this further. We're now joined via Zoom by the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Research and Innovation at the Northwest University and former member of the Ministerial Advisory Committee on Vaccines, Professor Jeffrey Mphahlele. Prof, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. How much do we know about this new strain, Prof?
Thanks for having me. We do know the genetic makeup of the new strain. We also know that it's related to the Omicron virus that is currently circulating and is the predominant strain that is circulating in South Africa and most parts of the world. So what I can say at this stage is that even if these new strains or the different versions of the Omicron that are circulating are detected in extremely low proportion. At the moment, we just need to really keep our vigilance so that we are able to detect them if they become the predominant strains. Now, they are really circulating in a small proportion in the community. The predominant strain remains Omicron.
Now, Prof, of course, in the introduction, we said whilst this is a more infectious, strain of COVID-19, of course, there is comfort, in fact, in that there is a large-scale natural and vaccine-derived immunity already in the broad population. So what does that mean? Do we continue to relax as South Africans, particularly those that have vaccinated and those that have gotten their boost? I'm asking this question because not too long ago, the WHO said that, a drop in COVID alertness could create deadly new variants.
Not at all. We have to be constantly vigilant about COVID-19. It's a novel disease after all. So the virus itself will continue to evolve as and when there is an opportunity for it to mutate. Especially when different hosts are infected, like the immunocompromised and so on, where the virus is able to persist for a longer time before it's cleared by the immune system. So it will continue to evolve, but I think the most important message at this stage is the fact that despite the extent of the mutation, there isn't any reason for the population of South Africa to panic. Reason being that even if you have got a new strain that might show increased transmissibility in the community, that does not always translate to either increased severity or maybe increased mechanism to escape the immune response. So you can have a virus, a mutated virus, that can spread, in the population, like we have seen with, BA.2 and BA.4, the other strains of Omicron that we have seen before, where the virus can spread rapidly, but then the disease severity is attenuated. So the two do not necessarily correlate in most cases.
And I know with these new variants, a lot of investigation goes around it in terms of uncovering how it affects different sectors of society. What can you tell us in terms of, just some of its dominant symptoms and if children and those that have underlying conditions are more affected, how does it work?
Well, there will always be the groups that are most vulnerable. And quite often we see this in younger children. We also see this in the elderly. Those who have got chronic conditions, it could be respiratory, chronic conditions. Those who are immunosuppressed, these are the groups that are most vulnerable. And fortunately, we do have vaccines available. If you feel that it is your turn to get a booster, you need to get boosted so that your immune system is always at a level that can respond as quickly as possible when you get exposed to new strains of the virus.
Now, in terms of our country and its effectiveness in terms of, surveillance, where are we with that, where that is concerned? I mean, you were the former member of the Ministerial Advisory Committee on vaccines. Is there such a committee that exists now? How is the surveillance at this present moment?
The surveillance is great, Unathi. You will realize that in South Africa, we do have this genomic network, which is doing surveillance on the genetic makeup of the variants that are circulating in the country. And they keep on, doing the surveillance, sequencing the strains as they emerge, and they report the data on occasionally. And, if you look at the latest data that was reported by the genomic network surveillance team, you will see that, the surveillance is still intact in all the provinces, in fact, and we should be able to pick up any new strain that is emerging in the country. Even if this new strain becomes dominant, we should be able to pick up that. So at the moment, as I said earlier on, the genomic network has been doing the surveillance and is giving us reassuring results that for now, the predominant strain remains Omicron.
In terms of this new strain, and I know that you say the dominant strain is still Omicron, but in terms of this new strain, just also to alert our viewers and to keep calm, we are hearing, of course, reports that are unfounded about possible deaths, particularly in the Western Cape. Just talk to us about if you have heard of any serious cases that do pose some form of worry from your end.
No, I think it will just be really creating unnecessary anxiety in the community if we say that the new strain is more problematic than the other strains that we have seen. So the most important thing is that it is a new strain. Because it is a new strain, we have to be vigilant. We have to make sure that we collect as sufficient information as possible about the new strain, ability to escape the immune system, ability to transmit in the community, or even ability to cause severe disease. But at this stage, we really don't have a strong evidence, scientific evidence that the new strain will be, or new strains, because these are really different versions of the other strains that existed before. So these new versions, we don't really have sufficient evidence, scientific evidence, that they are more problematic than what we have seen before.
Professor, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Let's leave it there for now. Of course, that was Professor Jeffrey Mphahlele from the Northwest University, just giving us the very latest on this new strain that has been discovered.